by 25,000, just
Right.
to start.
Correct.
So I'd be for that.
It's a long-term project to begin with.
Absolutely, all
I
those
mean,
ordinances, all those
Yeah.
Traffic
resolutions.
studies alone are gonna be,
Yeah.
Can I ask I mean, would it be feasible, so we're getting ready to do budget for 2015, we're getting ready to, and then next year we'll do budget for 2016. Could we, on the classification of the city as well as the ward, budget, you guys go off and figure out what will it take to
How
get
we do
us
it.
established? Could we budget money in each of the years with a target of 2017 implementing potentially both?
I personally still don't see the need for wards.
I'm not.
I don't see the need for wards or districts because I don't think that we have a diverse enough population and geographically diverse area to justify a ward system. And I've said that for many, many episodes on this dais. I just don't see the
Well,
need for
I also
wards.
think with our growth and the future growth, it's gonna be hard to predict
Exactly.
what level of population is gonna be in each of these wards, and are we gonna then have to do it again in every 4 years or every so often? And that's an expense I don't think the city needs, so I'm not for the ward system
I'm not.
right now.
I'm also never been in favor of the ward system. I truly don't feel like there's anyone unrepresented in the city that equal opportunity, and, also, I like that every vote counts, that you get a voice in every seat on the council, and not just for the individuals you live with. So I wouldn't support a ward system, not in really any near future, or far future for that matter.
I would support a ward system because it's too easy for someone like a strong mayor to go out and solicit interest and it's a lot easier for him to get 4 or 5 people or however many he has to fill to carry out his agenda than it would be if he had to find them from different locales. And plus, I think it does add a measure of ownership to a certain area, and I think it entices people to think that they have a better shot at winning if they just have to campaign and actually go door to door or meet those people.
Well, and I've run in 2 consecutive elections. I've walked the entirety of the city a couple of times over now. I told people that I like the idea of wards, and, until it got close to election time when it got spun, everybody liked the idea of knowing who their council member was. And I think that's, and actually, from what I heard when I was campaigning, now, suffice it to say, this was something I was campaigning on, but this is something I campaigned on. Nobody wanted to say, actually, I was on Heath's doorstep in 2011, and he didn't like the idea.
No, we don't need it.
But you know what? All across the rest of the city, nobody ever challenged me on it until almost right before the election, and that was in social media, or after the election and in the run-up to 2013. I think that people want to know who they can call and want to feel like they're going to be represented. And that includes, people that are in entirely different economic stratospheres on entirely different sides of the city.
I'll be honest, I think that individuals who have 5 council members they can go to rather than just 1 have more options for representation than having to deal with 1 individual in their own district who only can speak for their district rather than the entire city as a whole. I think that having a council that represents the interests of everybody in the city of Gardner rather than just their one small locale gives more representation to the citizenry and not less. I would tend to dispute what you're saying.
I would question, did you get as much mail or telephone calls from residents as you were probably anticipating you would after you got elected? I didn't.
I'm somewhat, I'll be honest, I'm somewhat disappointed by the underrepresentation of the constituency in my mailbox. But you see, that's not going to be fixed with a ward system.
Right.
It's going to be fixed with citizen engagement overall.
Well, and we're doing a lot of things to try and for citizen engagement.
There's a couple things. I mean, those people that say they're not sure who to turn to, they'd be blown away by how accessible their city council people are if they just went and found out who that person is.
Exactly.
All 5 of us. But the other piece of it, award system's more expensive from an election perspective.
Mhm.
What you also find out with award system, I grew up in award system, I've been there. You get legacy seats. No one runs against them. They sit in the same spot for years and years and years unless you have term limits in place. So you have the one guy that's ingrained there, and he'll be there forever, for better, for worse. Now, obviously, someone could run against him and try to come up against a guy that's been there for 20 years and knock him out. I just don't think it's the best fit.
Entrenched politicians in a city government are probably the worst thing you could possibly have. And I would be in agreement with Larry on this one. I think he would agree with me on this. And, you know,
Well, it's the second worst thing. The first worst is to have somebody with an agenda, stack the deck in their favor by pulling from a pool of 20,000
Well-
to get 5 people that agree with him.
well, I can understand that. I can understand that concern, but I think that having entrenched politicians staying in the same seat over and over and over again, I think is more potentially hazardous.
So I guess we have consensus that we want to leave the wards exemption in the charter ordinance.
I think what we've got is, I think we've got,
Let me ask you this now.
well, actually, it's, if we're talking about charter ordinance, it needs to be 4, so 3-3 is a stalemate.
Well, but for every single one of us, every single thing we've talked about, it's always been, 3 people to agree in the work session to move
Exactly.
forward with that. It's not been 4 up to this point.
Yeah, we're not actually voting
Yeah,
on
we're
it
not
today.
voting.
Yeah, well, no, that's,
Yeah.
And also, one thing to think about is, when you get to is that not right, Ryan? Which question? Well, no, you acted, you had a perplexed look on your face, like maybe, oh, okay.
No, I just, it's a little bit different when you're talking about a charter ordinance and building consensus to bring back, because, I mean, you do have to, with the charter ordinance, you do have to publish, I mean, you have to have a pretty good idea of where you're gonna end up, because otherwise you're gonna have to walk through that whole exercise with the extenuating time frame on more than one occasion.
But are we doing it incorrectly by saying there's three of us, or that would like to see the ordinance change and then a vote? What's that?
Yeah, the ordinance would fail, because you could.
It just means it would stay?
So then what do we have agreement on, the things that, I
Well-
mean, do we agree, up until this point, do we agree?
You're good.
we agreed on
You're good,
appointments,
except- you're
we
good,
agreed on
except
Okay,
for
quorum.
so this is the first issue
Right.
that's contentious.
With me,
Uh,
it wouldn't change it.
And let me ask you this, though, if you,
Exactly.
with a first-class city, you have to go to wards, right?
No.
You can opt out.
No.
and charter
You can
out.
charter out,
Charter
just
out.
like in a
Same way we
second-class
have.
city.
On forms of government, you can charter out of almost
Okay.
everything.
Yep.
Yep. And right now, we're chartered out.
And the state statute, specifies wards, which
Yeah.
previously, we agreed with the state statute because
But you can,
on the quorum, well, I guess actually we didn't, because we
no,
stayed with
because you
4.
said 4 and 3. What I heard
Yeah.
staff would go back with
Yeah,
4
that's
and
true.
3 for when there's a vacancy.
And then the slide that Shell had talked to it, yes, it's in statute, but I don't remember, 45% of cities that are the first class are at large? Is that what it was?
The slide that I pointed showed, actually about 75%
Well, that was
to
mixed.
either
Yeah.
mixed or at large.
Right.
But that was from National League of Cities.
That's from National
correct?
League of Cities, right,
So
from their
that's
national
not
survey.
Kansas.
Kansas.
And that's also 10-year-old data, probably didn't change, but.
Right, and that's the latest data that they provided.
Why couldn't we have a mixed system? I mean, maybe that's the compromise, is
Is
just
that
have,
like the school district?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right, you'd
kind
have,
of.
you'd have,
I mean, is that?
Oh, there's lots of ways
Well,
that you
it-
could do it.
So
Is
this
that-
may be
Here's
some-
the other thing too, I mean, the way the school district does it is you have candidates that run, but everybody votes on them, right, for the ward. It's not like I just vote on candidates from my ward, everybody in the city votes.
Yeah, that's a weird deal. No, she's right.
Yeah.
It's strange that
Yeah, they
you can
have
represent.
one or two at-large positions, and then everybody runs in a ward, but the whole city votes on every ward.
Mhm.
The problem is,
I don't-
when you add complexity, you add expense, and I tend to err on the side of simplicity. I think that, the way that, we have it as an at-large system, benefits the people of this community. Yes, we may not be as responsive in addressing issues that target a specific area, But from the standpoint of just a united focus on where we want to move the city in a specific direction,